it would only stand to reason that, as Mayor Scott said, performance ought to count for something, as should cost. And just like the other 20 violations, I have come along in this process. The best answer I've gotten so far from the city attorney in the last meeting was, well, we looked at Des Moines and they do it this way. But they don't do it this way because I have a 19-page document that I'd love to share with you. I highlighted all the differences from the Office of Procurement, how they do things versus how you guys do things. And just to make sure I was crossing my T's and dotting my I's, I had a lengthy conversation with Jenna Johnson. It is true that if you Google Des Moines RFP, you will get this scorecard that looks a lot like the matrix that you guys sent out. What it doesn't tell you is that this is only the technical ability scorecard, only for a waterworks project. So that's why you see things about deadlines and equipment on here. And so I specifically asked Johnson, I said, so you wouldn't use this in an animal control bid? And she said, oh no, absolutely not. And I said, so you'd gear the questions accordingly, correct? And she goes, oh, absolutely. She also let me know that the conflicts of interest that Sioux City had look nothing like what you would expect Des Moines to have. She also said that this matrix, again, was only technical ability. She says performance and cost are different. They usually have a team of 12 to do that. You guys had 4. So you guys used 1/3 of a waterworks project scorecard, 1/3 of the whole process on an animal control bid. That's how you guys decided to spend $2 million. And so I think it takes quite a bit of audacity to call that rinky-dink operation anything like what Des Moines is doing. And I get that I frustrate you, and I get that you're mad at me, but you don't get to be mad at me because I'm here trying. Alarmed with this scorecard. I had to blow it up because it was so small. There were such few criteria that it was the only way to get the notes on. So anyway, the typical process is you establish a board with no conflicts of interest. And you're going to want a bigger board than 4. And then when you had Officer Groves come up here, he was talking about how well he personally works with Cindy Rarrett. So to me, that says he had a conflict of interest going into it. The second thing you'd want to do is evaluate the proposal on a detailed scorecard with sound metrics. If you look at items 1, 2, and 7 on the scorecard that they were provided with, 1, 2, and 7 are not only not mutually exclusive, none of them are exhaustive, but they're all synonymous. They're the same question. They all pertain to experience, qualification, experience, current contract, experience currently with the city. That's a total of 45 points for basically being the current bidder. And normal metrics like 0 to 10 or 0 to 5, you find that people are able to answer and see if they meet particular needs. You can't ask somebody on a scale of 0 to 30 how experienced they are. That is not an appropriate question. You don't stay at a 28-star hotel because on a scale of 0 to 30, that doesn't give the consumer very much information. There was no financial category on here, and there was no performance category on here. And if you look, by the time you even get to the word proposal on this scorecard, there are 75 points to be earned, 15 total for the actual proposal, which is what they're supposed to be evaluating. And I just think it's insane that this was able to happen. The final step is, and by the way, I'm very confident that they didn't even read the bid because they didn't know basic things that were on either of them. So then you have an uninformed review board using ridiculous metrics that not only lean in the incumbent's favor, it genuinely makes it mathematically impossible for any other outcome. And then they bring this scorecard and their lack of information to a council that's incomplete, missing 20% of the votes. You weren't here. There were emails sent out wanting to know why nobody on council read it. So nobody here knows the bids, the proposals, or what's going on, and you have 75 points to be earned for being the current contractor before anybody mentions the proposal. At any point, 3 of the questions are the same. 1, 2, 3, and 7 are the same. 3 and 5 are virtually the same. So you just repeatedly get points for currently being in office. So what is the point? Nobody knew, nobody took this seriously. And another thing— I'm going to need you to wrap it up. Okay, another thing that's wrong with it is you never do 2 candidates on the same page, which is how they did this. You're supposed to do it separately because if I'm doing this and I see, oh, well, the first 2 are for already having the contract, well, she's 40 points ahead. How seriously am I going to do the rest of the proposal? I'm not, because I know the winner by the time I got to the second question. And if you don't think that this is enough evidence, what are the statistical odds in a city with a metropolitan area of about 100,000 that in 30 years, only 1 person wants this job and the other 2 bidders are so bad that they're losing by 75%.
Gotta have it quick. We've already been through this.
I know that when you hire, you are really good about interviewing everybody. I know you're hiring for 2 jobs now. You have applications out for servers and a kitchen manager. Those are far more thorough than what went out for this $2 million project. So when you spend $4.25 an hour of your own money on an entry-level server, why are you more careful than when you spend $2 million of taxpayers' money? So animal control and animals in general has always been a really big issue for me. So I was kind of excited when a new bid had come up, and it prompted me to watch the May 10th council meeting. And it was my opinion from watching that the review process for the RFP was pretty unfair and tilted naturally in the incumbent's favor. Held that role before. And so it all had to do with how long she's been there, not actual deliverables. And, you know, I mean, everybody went to school probably with somebody that was a 5th-year senior and graduated late. Their time in high school did not mean they were a good student. You know, just because she's been there doesn't mean she's done a good job. I did not think it was fair that I believe it was Officer Groves didn't even know if she had had a bond. That tells me he didn't read enough into it. I also recommend that everybody listens to Cindy Rarrett's 2019 deposition involving the Callie Meyer case. I'm sure that was a boring video to watch if you made it this far, but I'm posting it for a reason. Number one, RFP, government contracts, that will always be my number one side of TikTok, as boring as it may seem. It impacts our lives so much. Treasure trove, literally, of just racketeering and grifting from the public, and how a city specifically does its RFP will literally determine the growth and economy for everybody in that city. And now that we are a year into Trump's presidency, this is something we have to watch very carefully. Also, I wanted to share that because a lot of people don't know the consequences of having an animal control that works so closely with the police, in some cases the police. And just this week, a $500,000 settlement was reached because an officer responding to an animal control call shot and killed a 3-year-old blind Maltese. We're talking like a 10-pound dog, after only trying to get a hold of it for 3 minutes. Yeah.